Los Angeles is out here giving us fire and fury, literally. With these winds knocking out power and smoke making it look like the inside of a hookah lounge, you'd think I'd put my cooking plans on hold. But no, because nothing, and I mean nothing, is stopping me from bringing you this Cajun-style braised short ribs over cheesy grits recipe. Not the winds, not the power outages, not even the fire alarms trying to outshine me today. This recipe and more here at the Poor Choices Kitchen YouTube channel. Starting out, as just a way to assist you in making sure this recipe happens happily, I'm encouraging you to prepare everything ahead of time. Cut all your vegetables, pour your measurements of the stock, the alcohol, whatever we need, just have it ready to go. It's obviously very easy to make mistakes when we're cooking unprepared. You're dashing from here and there, and all of a sudden you mistake a teaspoon for a tablespoon. You added in the wrong type of powder, all sorts of things that'll go wrong, and then you'll blame me. And listen, just like every politician in this country, it is not my fault. So let's get going. We are starting out with the star of the show, these bone-in beef short ribs. These are ideal for braising because their marbling breaks down over low, slow cooking, creating tender, melt-in-your-mouth results. Now, I made the mistake of asking for 4 pounds of short ribs instead of asking for 4 pieces. So depending on how many people you want to feed, don't be like me and ask for 4 pounds. This was way more short rib than I expected, but gotta do what I gotta do. I'll just use these for another recipe. So first, we're gonna pat our ribs dry. This step is essential for getting a proper sear, which locks in juices and builds flavor. Next up, we're gonna season these ribs generously with Cajun seasoning. I'm using this Cajun fusion seasoning by Cattleman's Grill, but you can use any Cajun seasoning you want. I particularly like this brand because their seasonings are a lot more coarse, and that just means more texture. But if you got some Tony's or some Slappy Mama, by all means go for it. But I would say invest in a nice Cajun seasoning. We're also gonna add on some kosher salt and freshly black pepper, because even though we probably already have salt and pepper in that Cajun seasoning, we want to reinforce these flavors as well as, again, add more texture. And don't be shy here. I'm also going to toss on some smoked paprika. And for those of you who prefer a slightly thicker sauce, you can lightly dust the ribs with flour or cornstarch. And this is going to help thicken the braising liquid as it cooks. But I'm not going to do it here because we're actually going to take that braising liquid later on and turn it into a gravy. So we'll do our thickening there. Next up, we're going to heat 2 tablespoons of Wagyu beef tallow and something suitable for braising. And we're going to do that over medium-high heat. Wagyu tallow is a fantastic choice for this dish because it's rich, it's buttery, and enhances the natural flavor of the beef. And if you don't have Wagyu tallow, you can absolutely substitute this with another high quality fat. But the tallow truly takes it to the next level. And I bought this on Amazon. I think it might have been just under 30 bucks, and it goes a long way. Sear your short ribs on all sides until they're golden brown and caramelized, about 2 to 3 minutes per side. And this step isn't just for aesthetics. The caramelization process, also known as the Maillard reaction, adds a depth of flavor that's critical to this dish. Any chance you get to sear your meat, always go for it because that is just extra flavor and texture. Once seared, set the ribs aside on a plate to rest while you prepare the base. All right, it's base building time. This is the flavor foundation of the dish, and we're going to start with the ½ pound of sliced andouille sausage. And this is a wonderful Cajun spice sausage, and it's going to contribute some smokiness, some savoriness, all that good stuff. Add these to your braising pan along with Cajun Holy Trinity, diced onion, bell pepper, and celery. These 3 ingredients are staples in Cajun and Creole cooking, providing a balance of sweetness and earthiness. Allow the veggies and sausage to cook down for about 7 to 8 minutes, stirring occasionally until the vegetables soften and begin to caramelize. And since we've added in our Holy Trinity, we can't forget the Pope. I'm talking about garlic. We're gonna add 4 cloves of minced garlic for an extra aromatic layer, and we're gonna stir in about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And we're gonna let that paste cook for about 2 minutes to concentrate its flavor and eliminate any raw taste. This is a good time to smell your dish because you can literally smell the difference between when you first put that tomato paste on and after you've given it a few minutes. Same thing with garlic and other things. Next up is a key step, deglazing. Deglazing lifts all those flavorful brown bits called fond from the bottom of the pot, incorporating them into our braising liquid. We're gonna start by pouring in a 1/4 cup of bourbon, and that bourbon's gonna add a hint of sweetness and complexity that pairs beautifully with that smoky, spicy flavors of the dish. And just let it simmer away for about a minute to burn off the alcohol. And FYI, there's a chance your fond has already been lifted up when you added those vegetables in earlier, because those have a lot of moisture and those tend to kind of lift up the fond. But if you have anything left, the bourbon's definitely a good move to get it all up, as well as just adding more flavor. And make sure you're scraping the bottom of that pan really good. Get everything up. Then we're gonna add in a full cup of dark beer. I've got some Guinness here, and it's gonna add a malty richness and a slightly bitter edge to balance the spices. And we just stir that well to ensure nothing sticks to the bottom of the pot. Now we can keep on building our braising liquid. We're gonna add 3 cups of low sodium beef stock to the pot, and low sodium is important here because we are layering flavors, and this helps avoid over salting. Stir in about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce for umami, 2 teaspoons of hot sauce for a subtle kick, and a mix of aromatic spices. I've got some smoked paprika, some thyme, oregano, garlic powder, cayenne, and 2 bay leaves. And people always ask, do bay leaves actually taste like anything? And the answer is yes, but it's very subtle. It's not gonna be a kick you in the throat, here I am, standing my ground type of flavor. It's just a nice subtle hint to it. And if you really wanna appreciate it, make some white rice, just plain oat water, and then make some plain white rice, just water, but with bay leaves, and you will be able to taste the subtle difference there. So don't leave those bad boys out. And we're gonna bring this mixture to a simmer and then taste and adjust seasoning as needed. Does it need some more salt? Do you want a little bit more kick with the cayenne or the hot sauce? Do you want more umami with the Worcestershire sauce? Am I even saying that word right? Next, we are going to carefully nestle these seared short ribs back into the pot, and we're going to ensure that they're mostly submerged in that liquid. The ribs were braised slowly in the oven, soaking up all that incredible flavor in the liquid. So we're going to cover our braising pan with a lid, and we're going to transfer it to a preheated 325-degree oven, and we're going to let the ribs cook for about 2.5 to 3 hours. The key here is low and slow, and it allows that fat inside the ribs to break down and kind of get into our braising liquid. And while the ribs cook, let's move on to the sides. Now, a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with grits, and I feel like that love-hate comes from just how they're prepared. If you're eating grits at, say, like a diner that doesn't really know what it's doing with grits, you might get this soupy, paper mache looking glop. Or if you're having grits at home, you might be getting somebody cooking your grits that just doesn't know how to season them properly. So if you're willing to give me a chance, let's try grits again with these cheesy, creamy grits. So we're gonna start by bringing 4 cups of chicken stock to a boil in a medium saucepan. That's already flavor right there versus using water. Then we're gonna slowly whisk in 1 cup of stone ground grits. Plenty of probably what it says on the packaging, but they're grits. Then we just reduce the heat to low and we cover our pot and we let the grits simmer for about 25 minutes. Now it may not be exactly 25 minutes. Don't take me specifically on this time. Check on your grits every now and then. You wanna also stir them occasionally to prevent them from sticking. But once the grits are tender, they're nice and thick, we're gonna cut that heat off and stir in 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese and 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese and about 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Also added in like a pinch of smoked paprika here just because I like smokiness. Season it with salt and pepper to taste, and if your grits get a little too thick, don't be afraid to add in some more chicken stock, or you can add in some milk. And one last thing, timing these grits is kind of crucial here, just because if you start this way too early and then those grits are just sitting there, even if you kept them warm for like 30 minutes, they were probably gonna get super thick and not be as creamy as they were when you first did it. So try to time it so your grits are finishing just as you're taking those ribs out of the oven. Speaking of, our short ribs are done. And now we're gonna make an optional gravy because we really wanna add an extra layer of indulgence. So we're gonna start by melting 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter in a small saucepan over medium heat. And then we're gonna whisk in a tablespoon of all-purpose flour to create a roux, cooking it until it's lightly golden and fragrant. And then we're gonna gradually whisk in 2 cups of our strained braising liquid. I ran this through a fat separator and just gave it like 5 minutes. And don't throw away those veggies and sausages. We can definitely incorporate those back into our dish. Again, we want to stir constantly to avoid lumps, and we're just going to simmer this gravy until it thickens, maybe about 5 minutes, and then season with a pinch of salt and pepper. And this rich, savory gravy ties all the components of the dish together. We're going to start with a very generous scoop of these cheesy grits as the base on your plate. Ladle some of that caramelized veggies and sausages over the grits. Then we're going to gently place a short rib on top, ensuring it's the centerpiece of the dish. And finally, we're going to drizzle that gravy all over the entire plate, letting it cascade over the ribs, veggies, and grits. I just want to eat my screen. Oh, and I got one more finishing touch here. This is like a Creole herb garnish. It's so good. And this is just a blend of fresh parsley, tarragon, green onion, and lemon zest. And it's going to add a brightness and balance to this dish, cutting through a lot of that richness with a burst of freshness. And by all means, you can sprinkle this generously all over the top. And then your masterpiece is ready to serve. And there you have it, Cajun style braised short ribs with cheesy grits. This dish is a true celebration of Southern flavors. It's bold, it's comforting, it's absolutely unforgettable, perfect for a special occasion or simply treating yourself to a restaurant quality meal at home. Hey everybody, this is Poor Choices Kitchen. We have a Patreon link down in the description. $1 a month is all we ask for to pay for recipes in these here inflated times. And we also have YouTube memberships, same goal, recipes, inflation. No, seriously, thank you to everyone who's been donating every single month. It really means a lot to me. And also, if you don't have the means to support us financially, guess what? A like, a share, a comment, all that goes a very long way. And I really, truly appreciate this community for standing by me and my shenanigans. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and don't forget to share your creations with us. Until then, peace.